I want to bring to you somebody that's just going to bless you and literally change your life forever. Dr. Nicole Simpson, and she calls her Nicole B. Simpson. And she is amazing. That's all I got to say. And y'all already know I surround myself with some really amazing, powerful people. Y'all already know that, so just get ready because she's about to blow up. But I actually just recently met her, but I feel like I've been knowing her all my life. And we had a little bit of a void in our program. And that was I had worked for months trying to find somebody who could help us think about our finances in a way that we could move forward and advance. And I made so many contacts and so many calls, and I asked for referrals, and it just didn't jive. And I was speaking to Dr. Angela. I said, look, I can't find anyone. She said, oh, I got the right person for you. Well, was she ever right? And I said, well, this is something that you didn't know. I have been praying for someone, for God to send me somebody who can help me with my financial future. And this woman showed up in an hour. We had it all together. Amen. I mean, literally in an hour. And she wasn't my first financial planner. It's just that when you grow, you have to move on.
Yeah.
Get people to grow with you.
Yes.
And this person right here, Dr. Nicole Simpson, she's actually working on her doctorate right now.
Nice doctor.
That's right, we get it, but who cares? It's ABD. What's the difference?
Yeah, that's right.
ABD. All right. So, but I say it with all sincerity. Once I sat with her, I was so impressed that I couldn't help but bring her to the Dream Life Blueprint Masterclass. So let's give her a hand for being here. And I wanted you to say a couple of things, if you will, just, about yourself. Just a couple of sentences, nothing really.
Okay.
They got your bio.
I was going to say, you have my bio, but if I could just say one thing from the beginning of the day. We started off with talking about the notion of selfishness. If I can just take you back to a moment, when you get on a plane, when you fly, the first thing in doing the instructions before flying, they tell you put the mask on yourself before you can help anybody else. So the investment that you've made into yourself today is putting the mask on yourself, and that's not selfish. It is okay to take care of you first so that you can help other people. If we prioritize making sure that we're healthy enough, we really could impact more people. So I'm Nicole B. Simpson, that's all you need to know.
Awesome. Well, I'm really thankful that we had a discussion regarding my finances to really bring clarity to where I need to be and because as you can see, I had my stuff together. So I had brought all my information and said, this is where I'm at, this is what I've done, this is what I have. But now I need someone to take me to where I need to go. And I can't say enough about your thought process and how you were able to pull that off and put it together. So we want to help people here to kind of do something similar in a financial transformation and talk about your relationship with money and what that looks like and what that means and how important it is. So why don't you just start off by saying a few words and then we'll dig in a little bit deeper.
So my first question when I sit down with individuals, I say, if money is not an issue, what would you be doing with your life? If we could take money off the table, what is it that you would be doing with your life? And it gives you the opportunity to focus on dreams, desires, what you feel on the inside, the things that bring you joy, what you're passionate about. And so once you have identified those things, no matter how obscure it may or may not be, the one thing I can tell you that I'm anointed to do is to help you monetize whatever that is. That's what I'm called to do. And so if you know money being off the table, that you would like to live life to the fullest, and I do believe I'm a reverend as well, and a pastor. But one thing that I do know is that God created us for something specific. And if we didn't do that unique, specific thing, then it will never get done. And so whatever it is, you've got the gifting on the inside of you, you have the skill set, you've probably had the challenges to try to impede your ability to do that. And most oftentimes, it's that thing, whatever your fears are, how can I make this happen financially? And so there is always a blueprint for economic survival. There's always a blueprint for economic success and level of comfortability. I tell individuals all the time, we're not all going to be wealthy. Some of us are, but not everybody is going to be wealthy. But wealth is in the mind as well. If I'm content with how rich I am in relationships and I don't have to worry about a check bouncing, that's wealth for me. You know, and so the quality of life that you have, you can be wealthy in your health. But let me know what it is, and we can monetize that so that you can focus on what's going to make you productive and effective in society.
Let me interject here because I think I'm pretty familiar what it means to monetize.
Yes.
But I'm not sure everybody else does.
Okay. What it means to monetize is to determine how am I going to make revenue off of this thing that is important to me. And so I can monetize whatever your goal, your heart desire is, because we will create strategies that is consistent with your abilities or your skill set and what your passion is. Now, if you're an introvert, that does not impede our ability to monetize what it is that you love to do. If you're an extrovert and you can get along with people, I can tell you, I have no problems with going and asking people to pay $15 for my book. You saying no, I'm going to move on to the next person. My heart is not going to be crushed based off of that. Some of us have a life experience that we need to share, not with the whole world, but just a select group of individuals. How do I make money off of that? If we look recently, black consumerism hit $1.2 trillion in the last survey. And so if we're spending $1.2 trillion annually, how much of that do you need? How many people do you need to impact to get that? Some of us just need $500 more a month and we would be comfortable living, laughing, and loving. And so if there's 1.2 trillion out there, I just want a piece of the pie. Yeah. And I want to make sure you get whatever piece of the pie it is that you want. The other thing that you need to realize is that we are the backbone of America right now. The fact that there's all African American women in here, not only are we the backbone of America, we're the ones that are creating jobs more effectively nowadays than any other culture or any other ethnicity. Black women, we're more highly educated at this stage of our lives, and we're not fully maximizing on that. But if you look again at trends, the statistics will tell you that we are not only influential in terms of decision makers, other cultures have studied our swag. That's how they put it in the resources. They've studied our swag, and then they determine a marketing strategy of what it is that you would like. So if other cultures can do that and then market to us, then we ought to be able to do that and market to one another and make sure that we can have what it is we would like.
All right,
that's what I do. That is what I do.
And let me just kind of jump in here because first I want to establish that we are predominantly African American. Everybody's not African American, but we have to acknowledge the power of the African American woman in the United States to put people in office and take them out.
That's right.
So that in itself speaks to power, that we have positioned ourselves and postured ourselves to be leaders, and we just need to take that to the next level. And part of that is dealing with our relationship with money.
Yes.
So that's an area that, this is interesting because when I think about the topic of relationship with money, I think about my mother, single parent, 1-bedroom apartment, 5 children. That's 6 children. That's 7 people in 1-bedroom apartment. I'm listening and I'm hearing the landlord, Mr. Sherman, beating on the door for the rent. And she said, I'll have it next week. I'll never forget what he said. You're full of baloney, Miss Bowen. I'll never forget he said that. As a child, hearing him say that to my mother. But now, also watching my mother have rent parties. Y'all know anything about that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Rent parties when you cook food, have people come over and they buy you food and you pay your rent with.
Yes.
And so, and then she also
entrepreneurship.
Yeah, and now we call it entrepreneurship. But she had rent parties. She sold Avon. And she worked as a token pusher for the Metropolitan Transit Authority in New York City. So she did 3 things that I was aware of to make ends meet. And then my grandmother was a farmer in Barbados. So that's where my heritage is, in Barbados. And watching her work on a farm and build her own house. So now we're talking about what is your relationship with money. So I was able to see what hard work can do to give you what you need.
Yeah. That's right.
I also, saw the lack and the need, but then that doesn't mean that it has to stay that way. So then my mother worked herself over welfare up to the point where she built a house in Brandon, Florida with a pool.
Yeah.
Right.
Strategy.
So being able to see that and watch that, it helped me to understand it doesn't have to stay this way. I may be in poverty right now, but the poverty doesn't have to be in me.
There you go.
So we have to ask the question, what is your relationship with money? Because money now represents everything that is everything.
Yes.
It answers everything. It's the answer to everything. And so what is it? And I think the reason why, money is so important, we understand what that relationship is because if you are the type of person that doesn't like to let go of money,
You won't get any.
you won't get it. You have stopped your own flow.
Amen.
Right.
I'm really, I commend everybody in here that actually invested. I need you to know that your investment didn't pay for this event. It went toward it, but it's not paying for it.
Right.
I made an investment
Yes.
for you to be here. But the fact that you made an investment speaks about the fact that you have a relationship that you can release it.
There we go.
That's why they call it currency. Because it has to flow. And if you are hoarding or holding, it will not flow back to you because you haven't released it. And I have to honestly say, this one would know I write some of the biggest checks. I don't know where it's coming back from. It's like, it don't matter. I gotta do this, I gotta do that. That took, I gotta reel it in. But it took time for me to be able to say, hey, it doesn't matter. Well, how much does it cost? Okay.
But no, it says, as long as the earth remains, there will be seed time and harvest. I'm a preacher first, y'all. So,
Right.
There is a concept, that sowing seeds produces a harvest. If you stop sowing seed, at some point, the harvest is going to dry up until you've sown seed again, and however long that is in your life, it will determine in your resources.
Right.
Well, here
Money
it is.
provides
You reap
us options. You reap what you sow.
what you sow. I mean, it's a very simple process. Very simple.
It's a
Principle.
principle. It is a principle. It's a biblical principle that does not just work for people that say that they're Christian.
Right.
And so when we deal with money, a lot of us want to recognize the faith aspect of it. And I'm going this direction because I heard what many people do for meditation, spirituality, and all of that is important. But when I'm in the business world, the white people's money still spends, the Chinese people money spends just as well as African Americans. Sometimes we as Christians don't want to deal with somebody else in an outside culture, and so we don't have the ability to gather the wealth, not only for ourselves, because our market pool is so small. So if other people are using us as a consumer base, expand your way of thinking and offer them that as well.
Yes.
Now, here it is, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Expand your way of thinking.
There we go. Yes.
Expand your way of thinking. As a little girl going to that big house, it expanded my way of thinking. It expanded the possibility. So even though you may not have a lot right now, it doesn't mean that you won't have a lot later. or what you need, or even more than what you need. But I think this relationship with money is something that we have to think about as a methodology. How we use it, how we spend it. Do we waste it?
Let's start at begin where you're at. The way that you begin where you are. For those of us that may work in corporate America, I'm self-employed. So there may be some other self-employed individuals. But you have a job that oftentimes offer you benefits. And we don't take advantage of the benefits that they offer us. But if you start where you are, you may have a 401k or 403b or something of that nature. Most people feel like they're overworked and underpaid. In the average employment plan that is offered to you, your employers will match you dollar for dollar or 50 cents per dollar up to a certain percentage. So it is geared for retirement, and we are going to need money for retirement. But if you understand, if I put away 5%, my boss or my company is going to match me dollar for dollar up to 5%. You have saved 10%, 5% of your own, 5% of the company. Your wealth has increased 5% because you just got a raise by just adding and saving for yourself. Wow. And so now you have a total of 10% savings that you didn't have before. Over time, we're not even talking about the investment part of it. Where do I put it now that I've saved it? We're just simply talking about beginning where you are. And so if you're on a job, there's a mechanism already there. It doesn't even matter if they are matching you or not, because here's the other benefit to it. When you save for retirement, you reduce your tax liability in the current year. So let's say somebody makes $30,000. I'm going to make it simple so that we'll all understand, right? Somebody makes $30,000 in a year, and you just want to save a small portion. Maybe you save just $100 a month out of your paycheck. So instead of reporting to the IRS in the current year that you've earned $30,000 and you have to pay taxes on the $30,000, I'm not talking expenses and all of the tax deductions, but just simply put, because you put $1,200 away, Uncle Sam is automatically saying $28,800 is what you're going to have, the starting point of your tax liability. Because you save money for yourself, you're not going to have to pay taxes now. So you're already saving and you're beginning where you're standing. It is important for us to recognize we've got to start where we're standing, and then if you start, you will be able to, over time, the biggest feeling of euphoria is when somebody goes from having nothing to hitting their first 1,000, to hitting their first 10,000, to hitting their first 25,000, and maybe when you hit $100,000, you feel like you've done something major, but you didn't do it overnight. You didn't get a lump sum of money to do this. You started off with $25 here, $50 here, and you accumulate over time, even if you can't touch it in it right now. So you started off by saying, begin where you're standing. Mm-hmm. It's the same way with finances, just starting where you're standing.
And this is awesome because, again, when we start to think about where we are and we say, the first thing we think about, or could think about, I don't have it. Yeah. And that's fine. And it may be true. But it doesn't mean that that's how it has to stay. I don't have it yet. I don't have it all together now. And the whole object of us being here is to talk about how to get a plan for that. Always thinking about it. Again, this is all part of the blueprint. Finances are part of the blueprint. So if we're not doing well in our finances, if we're not where we're at with our finances, I can guarantee you it's going to affect you mentally.
That's true.
Even emotionally and sometimes physically, because we are worried.
Yes.
And sick.
And
just from the physical aspect, our health, there are a lot of studies that you may see pop up in recent years about your health and your wealth.
Yes.
Here's the thing. I've dealt with individuals, that have had debilitated chronic illnesses, unanticipated deaths, things of that nature. When you do get a diagnosis that's a severe diagnosis, your attention, all of your energy really needs to go on that and becoming well. If you have the underlying pressure of economics underneath that, it impedes on your ability to get well. And it impacts every area of your life. And then if you get older, your retirement plan and your lifestyle in retirement is going to suffer drastically because it's going to cost you more to maintain a standard of living. And so if I'm sick, and I've been here, I sort of shared a little bit about being a World Trade Center survivor. I made over $100,000. I went down to $18,000. That's actually how I met Dr. Black. Not in that capacity, but I was talking about recovery, how to recover economically, in a situation when something unexpected hits your life. And I know all of us have dealt with that, where some sort of tragedy, listen, if we're minorities, tragedy has hit us in some capacity or another. And so I am like the poster child for trauma, and at different intervals in my life, my finances had been impacted as a result of it. And so if you're sick, the last thing that you want to worry about, especially with young children, is, am I going to get evicted tomorrow? And then where am I going to live? Because at my weakest point, I've got to focus on getting better. But if you don't have finances or some sort of financial strategy, now you got to worry about how I'm going to do this, why I'm going to do this, the pressure of where my kid is going to be, and those things can be preventable. I went from over $100,000 down to $18,000 in 2002, and my mortgage is $18,000. I really didn't know how I was surviving, except I took my own medicine because I grew up in the projects. When you grow up in the projects, you know what it feels like not to have and that forever perpetual eviction potential. And I said, that's not going to be me.
Right.
But I still suffered because I was physically impaired, and it took me about 2.5 years, where normally I tell people 3 to 6 months worth of emergency cash set it aside. It took me about 2.5 years. This is why I mentioned this someone in the reaping aspect. When you do belong to God, He covers you.
Yeah.
I'm a witness. That's the miraculous part. As much as I had a plan, I had God. He was my foundation. And He begins to help you to recover by opening up avenues to acquire wealth that you may not have known, or revenues of income. That's how I wrote my first book.
There's the realm of the miraculous, the things that are out of your control. But I want to focus on, now the doors are open, that you take advantage of them.
Yeah.
So I hear people saying, this is no mean to minimize, people who are on fixed incomes. I hear people say that. I'm on a fixed income. But it's only as fixed as you want it to be.
That's exactly right.
Because, if you can bake a pie, you can change your income. If you can babysit, you can change your income. If you can get on the phone, you can change your income. I'm just saying, keep the mind open for the possibilities of changing your financial arena.